This shows the debt held by the public. It's not total debt. This is debt held by the public in our country. Historically, going back to 1900 and where we are today. And we're approximately, the debt held by the public is approximately 100% of the GDP of the country. The last two countries that got into real trouble and had a almost collapse of their currency and their debt were Greece and Italy. Greece reached almost the same number, about 105, and Italy about 108 or 9, and percent of GDP. If you look at the budget that you've provided to us, you take us to 200% debt as a percentage of the GDP. Now, I don't know what you all believe that does. I'm just going to make sure the chairman also gets a chance to see that, which is that here's the level of debt that Italy had, Greece had, they got into financial distress. We're at 100% of GDP right now. According to this budget, we get to 200% of the GDP of our debt held by the public. Now, I'm a financial guy, and I know that if something like that happens, there will be economic calamity. People will stop loaning money to the United States. Interest rates will go through the roof. We're not talking about going up to 2, 3, 4, 5%. We're going up to like what happened in Greece and Italy. So at some point, there's a dramatic departure from what we've all experienced. I don't know what that point is. I ask financial people who really are more financial than myself, where does it happen? When is it that we hit the cliff? Do you have a sense of what level of debt you just can't go beyond as a percentage of GDP, debt held by the public? Do you have a sense of what that is?
And Senator, if I can, what I have is the percentage of GDP is about 106% in the 2032. So I just wanted to start with the difference in effect here.
This goes out to 2050.
Our budget goes to 2032.
Yeah, and the CBO takes it all the way out.
We believe the way to look at debt is what it costs to service the debt. We believe that remains at a historic low rate and doesn't crowd out other investments, so we don't end up in the same situation you saw in other countries.
I see. So you just look at how much it costs, and if the interest rates are low, to service the debt. So what would you have said to every other country that's gotten to this level that's had an economic collapse? That they were just wrong? See, what happens is when people are afraid you can't pay back the debt because of how high it is as a percentage of your economy, they start asking for a higher interest rate. And when they do so, the amount you're having to spend to service the debt gets to be backbreaking. Every major civilization that's gone down this path has ended up having their currency no longer become the reserve currency of the world and have economic collapse. We simply cannot continue on a road of adding $1 trillion of debt every year. Let me look at the other slide. Oh, it's probably behind me. Oh, there it is. My colleague is behind me. I'm just looking at, every single year in your 10-year forecast, you're showing deficits of over $1 trillion a year. I don't know how, when the economy is doing well, we can keep adding $1 trillion a year to the debt without at some point reaching calamity. And so does the administration have a plan to deal with this? Is there some way we can stop these $1 trillion annual deficits and putting us on a road to financial distress?
Senator, we're doing it. $1.3 trillion in deficit reduction this year.
Well, I'm sorry. The Democrats passed a massive COVID bill. COVID was an extraordinary event, and we passed a lot of money to help people through that. Is there any reduction in spending that the administration has proposed, other than COVID spending, in this new budget?
COVID spending costs just as any other spending. And this president, had he not done ARP, many economists, including Moody's, who I sat with 2 days ago, believe we'd be in a double-dip recession.
I'm all in favor of COVID spending. I think ARP and the amount of money that was sent to states when states didn't need it. I think these numbers just roundabout. California had a $60 billion surplus last year, and ARP sent them $40 billion more. And the waste in ARP, as well as other programs, is unbelievable. But I know my time is up. I make the point that if you look at what you're doing over this budget, you're seeing that all of the increases in mandatory programs, the massive increases in mandatory programs And if we're ever going to get a handle on our debt, we're going to have to find a way to either increase revenue, which I don't favor, or find a way to adjust our long-term benefits, not for current retirees, but for young people coming along. We got to be able to find a way to balance these programs, or we're going to find ourselves in a heap of trouble.